has been extremely supportive, and we're going to get some radios so that everybody can talk to everybody else. And we also have, I found out, the channel's already built in for us to be able to talk to the schools. Police can talk to the schools. Brock, principal at Parkside, he made sure that was done to at least 2 of the radios that they have over there. So
we have a city-owned frequency.
Right.
That you should, right?
Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. We should be able to talk to them. They should be able to talk to us. But what we don't want to have to do is we don't want to have to make a phone call to say, hey, turn it to channel 3 so that we can talk to you.
Yeah,
so
there needs to be some type of emergency communication procedure.
Right. That's right. And we had a drill along with this emergency planning is we're going to meet with all the PTAs. I am in particular. So the last drill that we had was a lockdown drill. It was at the elementary school, and there were some issues identified. Most of which was teachers just locking the door and not throwing that latch up there. That's why they're there, so that the bad guy can't get in there. Even if he tries to break in, he won't be able to break that lock. Unfortunately, right after that, there was some shots heard, some hunters up behind the school there, and so the school actually went to a real lockdown. And so we had just gotten done preparing for that, and as I'm used to from my other places I've worked, the parents bombarded the school system on social media because they weren't notified about what was going on. And how come it took till after school before my kid told me what was happening. So one of the things I told Mr. Belmonte is we're going to call you and we're going to tell you to lock down a school, lock down your high school. We're not going to tell you why, for the simple reason that you will be able to tell the parents the police didn't tell us why. They just told us to lock it down. And then they can come and yell at me, and I will explain to them why we don't tell people what we're doing. The big thing is we're keeping your kids safe, and you have to trust us to do that. Now,
they're not going to time to call parents.
but what happens in a
they have a way to blast out.
Yeah, they do, and it's,
so do we.
Right, and it's the blast out that worked just fine, but then people started talking to each other. Well, what's going on, and how come this? And so what happens is, and it happened this time, is you got that 4 or 5 parents that no matter what will show up at the school. We're not letting you in. We've told you that. Mr. Belmonte has sent home letters. You're not getting in. We're not answering the phone. Everybody's in a lockdown. It's a serious situation. And so I get it. Parents are upset about that.
But those guys are our 24-hour news source, you know.
Yeah.
Those poor parents.
Yeah. Depending on who you talk to, that's absolutely correct. Anyway, my point is that I'm working diligently with Mr. Belmonte. I want to get the schools online with some sort of emergency planning, and then I've spoken with the mayor and John about some other emergency plans that need to happen before too long, since there aren't any that I'm aware of, or they're aware of, that are in place here for some other accidents that could happen. Not the least of which is a train wreck with a hazmat spill, but that's a whole nother story. So. Anyway, that's it. I'm sorry I took so much time, but questions, comments for me? I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Mayor, if you want, I can help him with the extra emergency management stuff that he's talking about.
Yeah, we'll talk to Chief about it.
Yeah, that's what I've got all my stuff that I've brought with me from Tulsa and Denver schools, but this is such a small rural
City,
small rural school district that it's gonna require some different setups than what I might be used to in an urban environment. So,
thank you.
One more thing, I just have to say this. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Marine Corps is the most important and best part of the Navy. And with that, I'll say,
Super 5, all right.
Civil Service Commission.
Not until January.
That's right. Park Commission, Planning Commission, Finance Committee, I skipped Clerk Treasurer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to talk to you about any more budget stuff. Tomorrow, we're having a final website review. You notice the new website is still not where we want it, but there were several of us that have made a list of questions, and we're going to gang up on it tomorrow and bang it out because it's got to go live by Friday. Speaking of Friday, Miss Karen Parkhurst from the TRPC wants to come down and do prep work to hand over the contract. I spoke with Katrina today. There are no big projects in the work, so the only thing that they're really going to hand over is those local land use actions. For example, the marijuana processing facility is moved from the initial site development stage to the next building stage, and you're going to have a new set of permits and all that kind of stuff, so we want to make sure that there are no hiccups in any of that. The next Ag Park update is going to be at Attorney Hughes's office this Friday, the 30th. SCJ is holding another stakeholder meeting regarding the Tenino Trail on Monday, December 3rd. And the next Water Resource Inventory Area 13 meeting, the Deschutes, will be on the 12th of December. Also on the 12th of December is some mandatory human resources training that's being sponsored by the RMSA. I've sent the links out to the other department heads. I'll be attending that. It's in the city of DuPont, and the subject is prevention of sexual harassment. That's all I have.
Yeah, okay. Mayor's report, I think I gave an update on various projects. The wall is coming along and getting close to completion. Talked about the tympanums, where we're at on those. Talked about the lighting for the buildings that we want to get wrapped up before the end of the year. Public Works is also going to add some additional Christmas lighting to the poles. I'm kind of excited about that. That was something that they came up with, and I thought it was a nice idea. So they're supposed to be doing it tomorrow. So if they're going to do it, they have to have it done before the Christmas tree lighting. They're going to get some like white. Troy went through Centralia and they wrapped all the light poles in town in Centralia, and he thought it looked really nice. So this was their idea, so I think it's great. So I want us to encourage them.
Whose idea?
Troy,
Okay.
the Public Works Director. He's going to hit up about 20 of the light poles and wrap them in like white lighting. So watch for that and encourage them, because they are real excited about that. And I said, while you're at it, do the front of City Hall. You know, when we were looking at for the floodlights, I was like, hey, there's an outlet right there. Look what you just got yourself into. So they're gonna do that. Those are our kind of the projects they're working on, in addition to clearing storm drains and the various other things that they regularly have to do. The legislative session's coming up, as Councilmember Godovac mentioned, and so I'm setting up some meetings to just go and say hi to people. Christmas tree lighting is this Friday at 6. If you're available, attend. It's a nice event. I think it's the 32nd annual Christmas tree lighting, so that's exciting. Hopefully Santa's gonna show up.
Oh, yes.
I hope so.
Followed by
What's the rise on
the
tonight, a fire
Christmas
truck?
auction and party at the Eagles Club.
That's it.
The Chamber Christmas auction and party at the Eagles Club starts at 7. We have ham and
Hams.
potatoes and all kinds of great auction items. Great auction
Awesome. And
items.
then Winterfest is the next day.
Right.
If
And
you're
Cash Mob Saturday. Or Cash Mob, Cash Mob Saturday.
We'll spend all your money at Linda's store.
Please.
I talked about properties at the last meeting and looking into purchasing some dilapidated or vacant properties for priming them for development or the city's purposes. when I mentioned it, I was asked to look into the vacant lots across from the
Valley?
yeah, across from Dr. Jump's office. And there's 2 vacant lots right there. I got a hold of the gentleman who inherited it from his father several years ago. He lives up in Everett, and I think he is, you know, he's stuck on Seattle prices for property. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get him a dose of reality, because a small lot in Tenino is not worth $127,000. It's worth about, you know, an eighth of that, a 16th of that.
Yeah, but the houses are going for ridiculous prices now.
Yeah, well,
It's not Seattle.
yeah.
No, but they are, but for Tenino, I was
Yeah,
amazed.
yeah, but,
I'm amazed.
so, I mean,
250 for, you know.
yeah. So we're gonna look into that, and it was just a research thing, you know, it was mentioned that, maybe we would look at that as, at putting making it a future spot for a tree, for this event, so that the city could so that we could take some control and have it something that we can ensure occurs in perpetuity, because, you know, maybe Valley doesn't want to do it, or maybe, you know, we could, whatever doesn't happen. So I think that was a good idea. I think it was mentioned by Linda at the last meeting, so I'll get information for us to plan for if we can do that kind of thing.
You're talking about Linda Thomaschek.
You
Did I mention that?
mentioned it. This was your idea.
Am I forgetting?
Yeah.
I remember.
Go to Back Park.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'll continue to get some more information on that. That's all I have. Partners, Planning Commission, Finance Committee, Public Safety Committee, Facade Improvement, Grant Review. You guys did meet, didn't you?
We met, and the only thing that was decided that we would start sending out letters saying that they had been okay for their grant. So that'll
Take your money.
Yeah, God, please get your
Take the
receipts
money.
in here. I told Joyce, my heavens, you've got to turn in your receipts. You know, we've only got from now to the end of the year.
Okay. BDAT is Councilmember Lawton, who's not here. CIP.
Yes, we did have a meeting. The big discussion was about Thurston Thrives and how that whole thing works, which, like you said, is very crude. They do have one employee that just got recently hired as a coordinator. She's trying to figure out how this all works and how it should be working. But so that's kind of
Well, is this through an agency? Thurston Thrives, or is it private?
No, it's a volunteer group of people that spun off from TRPC several years ago.
So yeah, it's kind of a weird. I mean, there's all these groups out there that just kind of organically have come together to kind of work on.
And this was supposed to be like a super group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's working on trying to make some sense of this whole Thurston Thrives thing. Okay. And she did mention that she would be talking to the South County cities about contributing.
Where does the funding come from that they have
I
already?
think some of the other cities must. I don't know. I thought
Yeah.
she didn't say, but I don't remember. But I thought some of the other cities, because she just mentioned specifically she would be coming to the South County cities.
Okay.
Several years ago, I was invited to be part of Thrive, and I looked at it and I didn't see how, at that point, I didn't see how it was going to help us. So I just,
Look forward to hearing from her.
There was some discussion about the CIP came up with a list of basic needs that they consider when funding is being requested. So that was discussed, and were those needs basically, was that accurate, and was anything need to be taken off or added? But I think we left it as is. And then the last thing was the South County continued participation in the HHSC. That they said they're going to be asking us by no later than January 14th to notify them. It sounds like we're already part of it for next year already, but yeah, so that was it.
Okay. Solid Waste Advisory, TCOM, Tenino School Board, they met last night. Probably Dan can give the report. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
They appointed the student representative.
a new student rep, Kat, I can't remember her last name.
Yep.
But she was sworn in. Chief Swain was there with Officers White and Garcia, and he introduced them because Officer White is the SRO and completed the training, and Reserve Officer Garcia, he said she's bilingual in English and Spanish, and so she will be working closely with the schools as well, he said.
Yeah, it's a great resource. Thank you, sir. Councilmember Dan.
Yeah.
TRPC.
I never did, I was gonna send you guys out the meeting summary, but I didn't see one, so I'll have to ask them what happened with that. But
Alright.
we haven't had a meeting since, for a while.
Transportation Policy Board.
No, not much, except for a little dust up over $13 million for our trails.
Oh, man.
And I didn't have to do it this time, I was young.
Alright. That brings us to public comment period number 2. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment, please come forward and do so at this time. You'll be given 3 minutes. State your name and address and comment away.
You gotta get out first.
You alright?
Go ahead. I'm going home.
Oh, no, go ahead,
Oh.
let's go at home.
He's just playing games with us. That brings us to adjournment.
Well,
Announcements? Announcements. That brings us to announcements.
This Saturday at Winterfest, the Tenino Museum will be there. Bob Hill has put together a program where they give away hot dogs and stuff like that. It's all for free, and the donation tin exceeded the expenditures last year by about $200.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's now becoming, we're gonna see it not be staying that way, sustainable. So we don't have to dip into the museum funds to fund it anymore. So that works out really well. So hopefully you guys will come down there and at least have a hot dog. Chili dog. And baked potato.
Meeting. Oh, go ahead. You got an announcement? Meeting adjourned.
The Tenino boys basketball team has matched its win total from last year by beating Raymond in their first game this year. Ingwe Dowies had 23 points, 14 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 steals, and a couple of assists. He is one of the 2 team captains.
So you, oh, go ahead. We're putting it in this weekend. It's gonna look really nice.
The thing is,
This is
you know, the planning
Yeah.
for the roundabout down here,
And then go back and
that massive thing, that
put it in your text, yeah.
I'm hanging on my room.
Oh.
The 30 units that's going out all
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I got that hanging up in my room. Things like this.
You like it?
I like it.
Just to jog your memory, yeah.
Go down here, why don't you check that piece of paper?
Yeah, I never
Thank you
learned
very
it.
much.
Not bad.
I'm honored tonight.
I am, but I'm not bossy, I
It's
just have
not as
better
slick
ideas.
as board
I
dogs.
just have better ideas. It's true.
So I can get
The bookmark is.
gift card.
Right now?
There it is.
I'll buy more.
I'll stop by tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Or I can just bring it to you, 'cause I gotta bring you a check too for, I came down there to bring you a check for.
I like that idea about
Yeah.
doing the
Oh,
parcel
shop.
and doing that monument back.
Yeah, okay.
What time are you in there? Making a little pocket
The
park?
afternoon,
Okay.
I'll call you.
Send me that.
Making that into a little pocket park.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Great.
Yeah, right by the,
That
right by
right
the
there.
monument.
And then we got the tree lightings, we get in there and,
Yeah. Put a little gazebo or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be good.
be nice. Beautiful for our city. Bye. Thanks for the help.
Yep, gotcha.
Put on a little dance program or something over there too.
What? What the hell are you talking about?
You put a little dance on
Put a
over
park
there.
right next to your house. Park here, on your lawn.
Yeah, so I
So
told you
speaking
this.
of parking, we got a response to our,
Turn off.
we got a response to our public records request from the district.
Oh, yeah?
Big packet.